This is not a story about a monster. Because monsters don't plan. Monsters don't wait. What walked into Oduma village that night had been waiting. 10 years. 3 months. 7 days. It watched. It counted. And it remembered. Every face. Every lie. Every betrayal. And now, it had come back. With a list. And every single name on it was going to die. This is the story of Kofi Mensah. And what the village of Oduma did to deserve him. The first knock came at midnight. Slow. Heavy. Deliberate. Knock. 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 Inside the small mud house, Oma Kruma froze. Her hands stopped moving. The bowl she was holding slipped slightly, water spilling onto the floor. No one visited at this hour. No one in Oduma village was stupid enough to be outside on a night like this. Another knock. Louder. Knock. 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 Oma's breathing became shallow. Her eyes slowly moved toward the door. "Who is it?" she whispered. Silence. Then, a voice. Low. Familiar. Oma. Her blood turned cold. "No," she whispered, stepping back. "That's not possible." Because she knew that voice. Everyone in the village knew that voice. Kofi, her lips trembled. The voice came again. Closer now. Right behind the door. "You remember me?" Oma's hands began to shake violently. Her mind screamed at her to run. To hide. To do something. But her body wouldn't move. "Open the door." The tone wasn't angry. Wasn't loud. It was calm. Too calm. Like someone who already knew the outcome. Tears filled Oma's eyes. "We buried you," she whispered. A pause. Then, a soft, almost amused reply. "I know." Oma's heart nearly stopped. Outside, something shifted. A shadow moved beneath the door. Long. Unnatural. "I waited," the voice continued. 10 years, 3 months, 7 days. Oma backed away slowly. "No, please." "I watched you," Kofi said softly. "I watched all of you." Her legs hit the edge of the table behind her. She had nowhere else to go. "You lied," he continued. "You screamed, and said it was me." Oma shook her head desperately. "It wasn't like that." Crack. The door split open. Not pushed. Not kicked. Broken. From the outside. Oma screamed. Standing in the doorway was Kofi Mensah. But not the man she remembered. His skin looked darker, almost burned. His eyes glowing faintly in the dark. And his smile. That smile wasn't human anymore. "You were the first," he said quietly. Oma collapsed to her knees. "Please, forgive me." Kofi tilted his head slightly, studying her. "Did you forgive me when I begged?" Her breath caught. "No. I remember everything," Kofi whispered. Suddenly, the door slammed shut behind him. On its own. The fire inside the hut flickered wildly. Then went out. Darkness swallowed everything. Oma's scream echoed through the village. Loud. Terrified. And then, it stopped. Just like that. Outside, the village remained silent. No doors opened. No one came out. Because they all heard it. And they all knew. Kofi had started. The next morning, Omar's house was empty. No blood. No body. Just one thing left behind. Carved into the wooden floor. Deep. Fresh. A single word. 1. The second knock didn't come at midnight. It came in broad daylight. Right in the middle of the village. Knock. Everyone heard it. People stopped walking. Conversations died instantly. Even the wind felt like it had paused. Knock. The sound wasn't coming from a door. It was coming from inside Kojo Bafo's house. But Kojo was standing outside. His face went pale. "That's not possible," he muttered. Knock. This time. Louder. From inside. The villagers slowly stepped back. No one wanted to be close. Kojo's hands trembled. "My wife, my son." He ran toward the door. "And no," someone shouted. "Don't go inside." But he didn't listen. He pushed the door open. Darkness. The inside of the house was pitch black. Even though sunlight poured in from behind him. "Ajoa," he called. "Kwame." No answer. Then. Knock. Right in front of him. Kojo froze. His breathing stopped. Because the sound was coming from the wall. Not behind it. Not inside it. From the wall itself. Knock. 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 Kojo slowly stepped closer. His hand shaking as he reached out. "Who's there?" Silence. Then. The wall cracked. A thin line split across the mud surface. Spreading. Crawling. Like something inside was pushing outward. Kojo stumbled back. No, no, no. The crack widened. And from inside. A hand pushed through. Blackened. Burned. Not human. Kojo screamed. The villagers outside heard everything. But no one moved. Because they already knew. Kofi had come for the second name. The wall burst open. Mud and dust exploded outward. And Kofi stepped through. Not from a door. Not from outside. From inside the house itself. Like he had always been there. Kojo fell to the ground, crawling backward. "Please. I didn't mean it." Kofi walked slowly toward him. "Come. Unstoppable." "You held me down," he said quietly. Kojo's face twisted in horror. "No. They forced me." "You didn't stop them." Kojo shook his head violently. "I was scared." Kofi stopped in front of him. "So was I." Silence. The air turned cold. Kojo's voice broke. "I have a family." Kofi looked at him for a long moment. Then said, "So did I." The door slammed shut on its own. Outside. The villagers stepped further back. A child started crying. His mother covered his mouth instantly. Inside the house. Kojo screamed. Louder than Omar. Longer. More desperate. Then. It stopped. A few moments later. The door slowly creaked open. No one touched it. Inside. Nothing. No Kojo. No family. No blood. Just the wall. And carved into it. Deep. Violent. 2. Now the village understood. This wasn't random. This wasn't revenge in anger. This was something worse. Kofi wasn't just killing them. He was counting. And somewhere in Oduma, there were still names left on that list. The third name was called before sunset. Not by Kofi. By the village. Gather at the baobab tree. No one argued. No one refused. Because now, everyone was afraid. The entire village stood in a tight circle beneath the ancient tree. Faces pale. Eyes restless. No one wanted to speak first. Until the oldest elder stepped forward. Nana Kwaku. We cannot pretend anymore, he said. Silence. Heavy. Guilty. We all know why this is happening. A woman began to cry softly. Someone whispered. Stop. But the elder continued. 10 years ago, we made a decision. Kofi's name passed through the crowd like a ghost. Nana Kwaku's voice hardened. The crops were failing. The river had dried. Children were dying. Murmurs spread. Old fear resurfacing. And then, the forest answered. A man shouted. No. Don't say it. But it was too late. It asked for one life. The crowd trembled. Not just any life, the elder continued. It asked for someone, marked. Kofi. A boy stepped back in horror. You mean, we chose him? No one replied. Because they all knew the truth. A woman collapsed to her knees. We told ourselves it was for survival. Another voice whispered. He was just a boy. Nana Kwaku closed his eyes. He begged us, he said quietly. Flashbacks hit them all at once. Kofi, tied to the tree. Screaming. Crying. I didn't do anything. Please. And them. Watching. Doing nothing. The elder's voice cracked. We told the spirits he was cursed, that he brought misfortune. But it was a lie. A long silence followed. Then, a new voice spoke. From behind them. Code. Come. And you all believed it. Every head turned. Kofi was standing at the edge of the circle. No one saw him arrive. No one heard him come. He was just there. The air dropped instantly. A woman screamed. Someone fell backward. Kofi stepped forward slowly. I remember everything, he said. His glowing eyes moved across the crowd. One by one. I remember who spoke first. He looked at Nana Kwaku. I remember who agreed. His gaze shifted. And I remember who stayed silent. The crowd began to break. People stepping back. Panicking. No, someone whispered. He's here, in the daylight. That was the worst part. Kofi didn't need the night anymore. He raised his hand slightly. And pointed. At a young man in the crowd. 3. The man froze. No. Please. But it was too late. The ground beneath him cracked. A dark hand burst through the soil. Grabbing his leg. He screamed as he was dragged down. Into the earth itself. Right in front of everyone. Gone. Silence. Kofi lowered his hand. Then smiled. You thought it was over when you buried me. He looked at all of them. But that was only the beginning. Then, he vanished. Like smoke. Leaving behind only one thing. Carved into the root of the baobab tree. 3. Now the truth was out. And the worst part. Everyone realized something at the same time. Kofi wasn't hunting randomly. He was following the list. And sooner or later, every single one of them would hear their number. The fourth name was never spoken. Because this time, The village decided to fight back. Night fell faster than usual. Or maybe it just felt that way. No one stayed inside. No one hid. Instead, the entire village gathered again beneath the baobab tree. But this time, they weren't waiting in silence. They came prepared. Torches burned brighter. Men carried spears. Women clutched charms and amulets. Children were locked inside homes. And standing at the center was someone they hadn't called in years. The priest. A tall, thin man named Osedamba. His body covered in ritual markings. His eyes sharp. Unafraid. "You should have called me before you killed the boy," he said coldly. No one replied. Because no one could deny it. Nana Kwaku stepped forward. "Can you stop him?" he asked. Ose looked around slowly. At the fear. At the guilt. At the desperation. Then he said, "I can try." A flicker of hope spread. Small. Fragile. "But understand this," Ose continued. "What is working among you is not just a spirit." The torches crackled. The wind shifted. "You didn't just kill Kofi," he said quietly. "You made something else." Silence. "What do you mean?" someone asked. Ose's voice dropped. "You gave him to the forest." A chill moved through the crowd. The forest does not return what it takes. A pause. It changes it. Before anyone could respond, the torches flickered violently. One by one, they began to dim. Then, go out. Darkness swallowed the village. And from somewhere in that darkness, a voice echoed. "You called for help, Kofi." He was close. Very close. A woman screamed. Someone dropped a spear. "Stand your ground," Ose shouted. He began chanting loudly. Ancient words. Sharp. Commanding. The ground beneath them trembled. A circle of ash ignited around the group. A barrier. "Stay inside the circle," Ose yelled. "No matter what you see." Footsteps. Slow. Deliberate. Then, Kofi stepped into the faint firelight. He looked different. More unstable. His skin cracked like dry earth. Dark energy pulsing beneath it. But his eyes, still locked on them. "You think this will stop me?" he asked calmly. Ose stepped forward, raising a carved staff. "You do not belong here," he said firmly. Kofi tilted his head slightly. "Neither do you." The air exploded. A force slammed into the barrier. The ash circle flared violently. Then flickered. Ose's expression changed. Just slightly. "You're tied to something deeper," he whispered. Kofi smiled. "Now you understand." Another impact. Stronger. The barrier cracked. The villagers panicked. "Hold it!" Ose shouted, struggling to maintain the chant. But it was breaking. Fast. Kofi took a step forward. The fire split open. And just like that, he was inside the circle. No resistance. No struggle. Like it was never there. Ose stumbled back. Shock written across his face. "That's not possible." Kofi walked slowly toward him. "You taught them the ritual," he said. Ose froze. "You told them how to offer me." The villagers gasped. All eyes turned to the priest. "No," someone whispered. Ose's silence said everything. "You needed someone," Kofi continued. A life strong enough to bind the forest. His voice grew colder. So you chose me. The truth hit harder than fear. This wasn't just survival. This was planned. Ose tried to speak. But Kofi was already in front of him. You don't get to fix this, Kofi said quietly. The priest raised his staff. But it shattered instantly. Like glass. Ose screamed. And in the next second, he was gone. Vanished. No body. No trace. The villagers broke. Screaming. Running. Falling over each other. The circle collapsed completely. Darkness returned. Kofi stood alone. Watching them scatter. Then slowly, he turned his head. Toward one house. At the edge of the village. His expression changed. For the first time. Something else appeared. Not anger. Not rage. Something deeper. Personal. Still alive, he whispered. And then, he started walking. The fifth name was never written. Because it was never meant to be. Kofi stopped in front of the last house at the edge of Oduma. Small. Quiet. Untouched. The door was slightly open. Inside. A weak light flickered. Kofi stood still. For the first time since he returned. He hesitated. Then, he stepped inside. The room was silent. Dust in the air. Old memories in every corner. And sitting in the shadows was a woman. Old now. Fragile. But alive. Her eyes lifted slowly. And when she saw him, they filled with tears. Kofi, she whispered. His chest tightened. Mother. The word barely escaped his lips. The entire village had forgotten one thing. Kofi had a mother. And 10 years ago, when they dragged him to the forest, she was the only one who fought. The only one who screamed. The only one who begged them to stop. But they held her back. Forced her to watch. As her son was taken. Now, she sat in front of him. Aged by grief. Broken by time. I knew you would come back, she said softly. Kofi didn't move. They told me to leave, she continued. But I stayed. A long silence filled the room. I waited for you. Kofi's eyes flickered. For a moment. The darkness inside them trembled. They all died, he said quietly. His mother nodded. I know. No fear in her voice. No shock. Only sadness. You came for them, she said. Another pause. Are you here for me too? The question hung in the air. Heavy. Kofi's hand slowly lifted. The same way it had before. The same way he had chosen the others. But this time, it stopped. His body trembled. Memories flashed. Her holding his hand. Her feeding him. Her protecting him. Before everything. I can't, he whispered. The darkness around him pulsed violently. Like something inside him was fighting back. You must, his mother said gently. Kofi froze. What? She looked at him. Deep. Knowing. You don't belong here anymore. His breath caught. If you leave me alive, she continued. It won't end. The truth hit him. Hard. The forest. The pact. The hunger. It wasn't finished. It would never be finished. As long as something remained. As long as someone remained. You are the last name, Kofi Silence. Tears rolled down his face. For the first time, he looked human again. I don't want to do this. His mother smiled softly. I know. She closed her eyes. Come back to me, one last time. Kofi stepped forward slowly. Shaking. Breaking. I'm sorry, he whispered. Then, darkness swallowed the room. No scream. No sound. Just silence. The next morning, Oduma village was empty. Every house. Every road. Every corner. Gone. As if it never existed. Travelers passing through that land would later say. The forest there felt different. Alive. Watching. And sometimes, at the edge of the trees, they would see a figure standing still. Not moving. Not hunting. Just waiting. Because the truth was, Kofi didn't destroy the village. He completed it. If this story gave you chills, you're not ready for what's coming next. Hit subscribe right now, because the next story is even darker, and trust me, some stories should never be heard.